Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Leverett Ball Show. And on this episode, I am joined by Dominique Curry. And Rams fans, you likely remember this guy well from his time with the team. He played his college football at California University in Pennsylvania before playing with the Rams and also Detroit Lions. And Dominique, a few different topics I want to talk to you about today. Talk some football, then also talk about your work with the Philadelphia Youth Sports Collaborative and also your work with No Fly Zone. But, let's backpedal a little bit to, when you were coming out of college, you played, like I said, at California University. You signed with the Rams as an undrafted free agent, but you were able to make the 53-man roster coming out of training camp. And what's that process like? If you're not like a first round pick and everyone is, everything's invested in you when you're one of those guys who isn't guaranteed to make the team and you overcome that and make a roster. I mean, how much of a grind is that?
It's a major grind. My story is a little bit unique and different because I actually attended Cheney University, which is the first historically black college, and I went there for 4 years, where I played 3 years of football. I ran track for 4 years, and I played 4 years of basketball. So the reason why I went to Cal PA was because I still had a semester of football left, and that was a sport that I knew if I had any type of shot to take that route instead of any other route. And I went to Cal PA in my senior year at Cal, and he had four catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. So getting that opportunity to even be invited to the Rams camp was just, it was mind blowing for me because I was actually working. I was working at LA Fitness when I got that call.
Well, and I think people also don't know that about like when if you're a free agent, like a lot of guys, they're like going to workouts for teams and like working a random side job. Like I've heard of guys, work at like a pizza place or drive
Yeah.
for Uber, and you're working at LA Fitness and I mean it's definitely a hustle, but you were able to make the roster. Also, I mean, you played three sports at your first college. It sounds like you were a busy guy. I mean, did you also release a piano album while you were at your first school? I mean, what was that like playing three different sports?
I mean, I should have because I do know how to play the piano. So
Oh,
I could have released a little jazz with piano. I know how to play the
nice.
saxophone and the drums. But just going to such a small school, it just was. I really didn't have the NFL on my radar until after my freshman game. We played against Bloomsburg University, and they had Jari Evans on their team. So I don't know if people know, but well, they should know. But Jari Evans is a Saints Hall of Famer. He's from Philly. He played high school at my rival high school, Frankfurt, and I played against him a couple times in college. But after that game, my assistant coach was like, "Hey, man, the Bills scout was asking about you," and that's kind of what made the antennas go off in my head. Like, I probably could have opportunity to make it. And then as I just continued to grow and get better, I started to notice my name up on the list for top 100 receivers across all levels, and that's what kind of sparked my true hunger for, like, I feel like I can get there. And it just getting there was just completely stressful. I mean, nobody really knows that process going from undrafted to making the 53-man roster. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and you were able to, stick it out and make the 53-man roster. And then, when you're playing with the Rams, I mean, was it kind of surreal? You mentioned that initially maybe you didn't think you'd make it to the NFL. So when you played in your first regular season game, was it kind of surreal or what was that like?
So playing in my first regular season game was crazy. Like, I actually didn't play in the true first game. What happened was I made a 53 man roster, and we was playing against the Arizona Cardinals. So I'm overly hyped. Like, leading up to this game, I'm getting reps on the offense. On scout team, I'm the Larry Fitzgerald of the scout team. I'm running all the plays. So I'm getting like a lot of love practice in practice. And when we get to the game, I go out there in the morning, do my warm up, do my routine. I'm hype. I'm overly excited because this is my opportunity to play in the NFL. And right before we went back in and put our shoulder pads on, somebody came up to me and was like, you're down this game. And I didn't know what they were talking about until I got to the locker room and I seen sweatpants. Saw no equipment, no cleats, no shoulder pads, no helmet. It was just Rams long sleeve, some sweatpants, and some Nikes. And one of the vets explained it to me, was like, yo, only 49 people dress. And that kind of just like threw me off because I'm like, man, I'm supposed to be out there. I felt like I earned the right to be out there. And unfortunately, I played the second game and was able to really get out there. And I was just playing off of basically like true emotion, obviously following the game plan. But my hunger was just a little bit more than other people just because, I didn't play that first game. And now I finally got a chance to play in front of thousands of people watching in person and millions of people watching from home.
Yeah, and that must have been awesome. And you also, I know your rookie year ended a little bit early, and you tore your ACL. Now, if I remember correctly, did you tear your ACL while blocking a punt?
I tore it afterwards. So the funny thing about that whole situation was they put in the red zone package for me because I guess my ability just could dunk. Like I could jump really high back in college. So when we be in practice, man, the fade ball was just super unstoppable. And they put together a nice red zone package called the regular 15. So we was practicing it, and I'm like this might be my opportunity on Fox against the Redskins, against Donovan McNabb, who was one of my idols growing up for the Eagles. I'm like, I might actually score a touchdown, like on some fade Moss type situation. And I ended up blocking the punt. And then after that, we didn't make it to the red zone after the block punt. But the very next special teams rep, I just was running, and when I made a cut, I just tore my ACL. I kept running, tried to make the tackle, but I guess after all that adrenaline ran out, I realized, man, I can't really move. So I tried. It happened on the other team sideline. I tried to make it back to my sideline, and I was about halfway, and then one of the guys on the offense was like, "Bro, just go down. They'll come out and get you." Because it was, it's a timer. So I just went down. They came out, helped me off, and then carted me in the back. And it was just like the season done.
That is tough, but that's cool though that one of your last plays before the injury was a block punt. Not a lot of people can pull that off.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess I'll have to start calling you Ed Reed because I
Hey.
grew up in Baltimore. He was always blocking punts, but we'll start calling you Dominique Reed or something. But then you like I mentioned after the Rams, spent some time with the Lions, spent some time in arena football, and then when you did retire from football, how hard was that for you to move on and, go through the process of deciding what you want to do next?
I mean, it was really difficult. It's something that a lot of football players or just professional athletes kind of try not to touch. But for me, it was just the fact that I had to realize that my playing days are over. I had to realize that the money that I did save up or the money that I did make from football was kind of coming to an end because of I'm now 2 years, 2.5 years removed. And it's kind of difficult to supplement the type of money that you're bringing in from the NFL. So going from, let's say, 20 to $30,000 checks to possibly getting a 15 to $2,500 check, it's a very, very big adjustment. And luckily for me, my humility helped me out because, I'm from North Philly. Um, my background growing up, it wasn't rough, but there were moments of struggle and there was trying moments. So when that moment came to after I finished playing, I kept telling myself, man, you know how to make it from the bottom. So the only way up, only direction down is up. So I just made sure that I went back to school, got my master's degree. I started working actually inside of a school. Simon Gratz. I started coaching youth football with the E9 Eagles. Started coaching at Simon Gratz. Um, and even to this day, I'm still actually coaching youth football and somewhat high school football because I have kids in high school. So want to make sure I can make their games. But I'm also still in school trying to get my doctorate degree. So
Wow, doing a little bit of everything.
I'm trying.
Sounds like you're a busy guy, but
Yeah.
and that is definitely, you talk about like moving on from football. I've talked to lots of athletes about, um, how hard that is to move on from sports. And I think with pro sports, like you put so much work into making it to the pros, and
Mhm.
your life kind of has to revolve around it, but then it's over. And I mean, the retirement age for pro sports is so much younger than the retirement age for any other profession.
Yeah.
So there's got to be tough. I've had a few different athletes on this podcast talk about how hard it was. I even had one former Major League Baseball player on this podcast who actually told me that when he stopped playing baseball, he thought about taking his own life because he felt that confused about where his life was going. So, I mean, it can be really, really hard for some guys, but it sounds like, you've been able to do a lot of very productive things since you stopped playing. As far as some other things you've been involved with, you also work with the Philadelphia Youth Sports Collaborative. And, for anyone listening, can you give everyone kind of a background on the organization and kind of what they do?
Yeah. So the Philadelphia Youth Sports Collaborative, we're an organization obviously in Philly. We make sure that we provide resources to the smaller nonprofits in the city. Um, but one of the big things that we're doing now is called the Philly Sports Fund, and recently we just gave 71 smaller nonprofits grant money or equipment money from 500 to 5,000. So it's something that we do to support. We go from trainings from CPRs to mandatory reporting to coaching training, where we help certain teams, organizations, or leagues how to train our coaches to be better coaches. We dig a little bit deeper mentally, and we partner with other small nonprofits like CHJS, which is an PCA. So we partner with them to make sure that we provide those trainings to not only the coaches but to the athletes themselves.
Well, and youth sports are so important, I think, for kids' development. Even for the kids who don't go on to be college or professional athletes, I think for their just development as a human being, it's huge. And I mean, obviously, you went on to play in the pros, but how much did playing sports in your youth help kind of your development as a person, as far as work ethic, self confidence, all the different things that sports teach you?
It was monumental for me because it gave me that source of family outside of family. It taught me discipline, determination. It taught me how to work under high stressful moments. Um, so like now when I'm at work, if there's something like a deadline coming up, especially in my previous occupations, when deadlines come up, I'm able to meet them without breaking a sweat. And people used to ask me, I'm like, man, listen, you don't know how I feel to have a ball thrown to you and you have literally millions of people watching. Like you don't know how I feel to be able to throw that block and you have Steven Jackson running behind you or Reggie Bush. So it's like that pressure there is nothing like this. And you also don't know how I feel that every Tuesday you come into work, you literally have people applying for your job. Like the NFL, I didn't realize it, but every Tuesday they had workouts for players. Didn't I don't know what positions, but it was always a player in there sitting in a player lounge getting ready for a workout. So just imagine a data analyst every Tuesday got somebody in there typing on their keyboard. So it's like,
Yeah.
how do you work under that type of pressure? So now that I'm in the real world, it's man, this pressure's nothing for me.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And and I think it is. I mean, I guess it gives you a little bit of an edge in your post football career. Some of the skills and the mindset you developed from from football, and also how did you? We're kind of talking about sports and development and youth sports, and how did you first get interested in getting involved with Philadelphia Youth Sports Collaborative?
I was actually working with the NFL headquarters, and I was commuting from Philly to New York every day, and it kind of got a little strenuous on me because one day My youngest son, he ended up getting sick. So my commute from the office in New York to the hospital in Delaware took literally 4 hours. I mean, trains were getting canceled. I finally get on the train and just traffic from 95 from New Jersey, where I parked my car, down to Delaware was just bumper to bumper the entire way. And that kind of changed the way I felt about working up in New York. I had a great conversation with them, and they actually were able to get me moved into a role with the NFL alumni. The NFL alumni is also a nonprofit, uh, and I realized that here I'm just consumed to an office space, and I'm somebody that need to stretch my legs. I got to get out. I need to get, my feet on the pavement. And I ended up seeing a former player who I did know, uh, Tim Massacoy, who's plays tight end, went to Michigan UM, and he was on the board of directors for PYSC. And then I saw a guy that I coached a travel 707 team with, Dante Privet, and he was on the actual staff of PYSC. So I reached out to them, asked them, how do they feel about it? And when I heard both of them say, man, I love it. I love the work that they do. I reached out, was able to get an interview. And when I met the team, I'm like, man, these people truly, truly care, like truly care about the youth in the city of Philadelphia. And that's like one of the main things that I really wanted to help. Like that's that's top of the line for me. The kids of the city.
Well, and that's awesome. It sounds like you've been able to have big impacts with that organization, and also if there's anyone listening who wants to volunteer for PYSC or donate or anything or get involved in any way, how can they go about doing that?
So they could just go to our website, www.pysc.org, or you could contact us on our social media, Phila Youth Sports, and we respond quickly, swiftly. There's multiple ways to help out. It's obviously money because we do help fund other nonprofits, and we need to also make sure that we keep the lights on in our building. But just showing up, volunteering, sharing our posts, spreading the word to people in the city that you may know, um, and that's really just the best thing.
Well, and that sounds like an awesome thing for people to get involved in. It sounds like you guys are having a huge impact on young athletes. But one other thing you've been involved in is your work with No Fly Zone. What can you tell everyone about that organization?
Yeah, so no fly zone is actually, I call it a bus on steroids, honestly. So it's a big bus. We have an arcade on the inside, we have a bar on the inside, we have jerseys, we have paraphernalia, we have a DJ, and it's really no fly zone because it's catered to the Eagles. I'm Philly all day. Like I tell people, I may have worn other jerseys, but I bleed green. I'm a Phillies fan, been a Phillies fan my whole life. So just because I played, that doesn't mean I have to stop being that fan. But we'll be at all the tailgates, all the home game tailgates. We may even travel. We may even do that. But a big thing that we're doing right now for the no fly zone bus is something called Brotherly Ball, and that's going to be a 2-on-2 tournament where we'll travel across the tri-state area and allow people to challenge our superstars. So one star that we have is Hezzy the God, who's well known on social media. He's known for his crossover, his shots, uh, his his personality. It's a very big personality, but giving people opportunity to play against those guys and our other stars that we have. But that's big on the board, and we're going to have a um a pop up game coming up soon. So within the next 2 weeks, we definitely going to have a pop up.
Nice. So, with all the things you mentioned, also some pickup basketball. Any chance you guys will have a full padded football game as well at some point?
Nah, man, that sure is too high. No,
They,
no,
they wouldn't let
no.
you play. You'd be overqualified. You'd probably smoke everyone. But
I mean, the way I feel now, man, I might have to play linebacker. Every time people see me, nobody expects me to say I play wide receiver. Everybody
why
say
not?
defensive end. I mean, I put on some old man weight. I'm like 260, but.
Okay.
I hit the gym a little bit, but I don't know. I got at least a fade route in me.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. But yeah, I mean, you could. I guess if people thought you were like a D end, and then you play wide receiver, you catch them off guard and like burn them.
Yep.
But
I'm-
yeah, that's awesome. But also a couple more questions before we wrap up. So, obviously you're a former player in the NFL, and while the Eagles were not one of the teams you played on, you're a big Eagles fan from your background in Philly. Are you rooting for the Eagles this season to repeat, or what are your thoughts on the upcoming NFL season?
I'm rooting for the Eagles. I'm rooting for the Eagles. I'm rooting for the Lions. I'm rooting for the Rams. But the Eagles is where the heart is. Like I'm Philly, Philly till the day I die. Like I have it tattooed on me. Like I said, I bleed green. I remember 4th and 26. I remember being that kid that had all the newspaper clippings from the Daily News all over my wall. The posters, when T.O. signed with us, when McNabb got drafted from Syracuse, uh, Jeremiah Trotter, the Axeman, and then finally meeting him in person and getting to know him as a person brought me a little bit closer to the Eagles because now by me being in the former player space, a lot of former player events in Philly are former Eagles players. So it's like, now I'm able to see my childhood legends and heroes that I looked up to playing. So it's like, I'm Philly, Philly, man. Philly all day.
One, I mean, I feel like Eagles fans are so passionate and so loyal because there's a different guest I had on this podcast who played for the Minnesota Vikings, but he'd grown up in Philly, so his favorite team was the Eagles, even though he played on other teams. So kind of similar to you, it's like people are so loyal to the Philly teams that even if they go pro and play on other teams, they keep that loyalty, which is really cool. But my final thing before we wrap up. So, if anyone listening to this podcast just became a huge Dominique Curry fan and, they want to unfollow me and follow you, I mean, where can people find you online? What are your social media handles? And also, do you have any public appearances coming up?
My social media handle is just simple, Dom Curry 18. That's what it is on Instagram. I'm not really on X, so I don't really use X like that. But on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads, it's just Dom Curry 18, nice and simple. But the appearances I have, I will be at the Danny Rump tournament this week in Philly. It's a big, big basketball tournament where the city bring stars from across the country. NBA players from across. I would say a couple players that played in this tournament previously was James Harden, Tyrese Maxey, Jason Tatum. Um, Jalen Brunson, like guys like that, they'll come in and they'll bless the city with their appearance and their skill to be on the spotlight. And then we have a lot of guys from the city that played overseas or professional at some point in life. The Morris twins, they always come back and play every year, but that's going to be where I'm gonna be at this next week, and then like I'm gonna just be with No Fly Zone on the bus, man. Getting the crowd hype, making sure that we doing our Eagles chants. But I think the player you're talking about is Sharif Floyd.
For
That you said played for the Vikings was an Eagles fan?
oh, well, he met. So this was a guy named Toby Johnson.
Toby Johnson.
He was
Okay,
a
okay.
defensive tackle. I mean, and the guy you mentioned might also be a big Eagles fan as well. I guess
Yeah.
every NFL player must like the Eagles, even if they're not. Maybe Tom Brady was secretly an Eagles fan. Who knows?
I mean, one thing about Philly, I would say one thing about Philly is whenever Philly players go out of Philly and play professionally somewhere, they normally get deemed the nickname Philly. Like that was what they called me with the Rams in Detroit. They called me Philly. Um, and it wasn't because I had it tatted on me, because a lot of times I would wear long sleeve. It was just that's what they called this guy. So it's like once we leave, like I said, we may wear a purple jersey, a blue jersey, a yellow jersey, but once we bleed, that green is going to come out.
Yeah, well, and that's awesome. The Philly loyalty. But Dominique, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. For everyone listening, definitely check out his work with No Fly Zone. Check out his work with the Philadelphia Youth Sports Collaborative, and give him a follow on social media as well. Once again, everyone, that was Dominique Curry. You've been listening to the Leverett Ball Show.